So in today's lesson, we'll learn first a key factor why we are not achieving our goals. And we'll explore this philosophy called the dichotomy of control and how it can help us really reach our goals. We also talk about the difference between the internal and external goals and why that is so important. And after that, we'll show you a goal internalization process and how you can use it to drastically improve your chance at achieving goals. And also in today's lesson, we'll examine a few real-world success stories where really this goal philosophy is practiced and why it is so successful. In the end, we'll go over some example goals and action plans and show you how you can use what you learn in the lesson to really achieve your own goals. So that's what we want to talk about today. So let's get started now. So first of all, consider this question. We all have goals, but sometimes for some of the goals that we have, why is it that it seems that no matter what we do, we just can't seem to achieve these goals? Is it because the goal is too big, or we lack self-discipline, or the timing is not right, or maybe we lose motivation, or simply because we're lazy or we are distracted? Of course, any of these could be one factor in our failing to reach a goal, but what's the most important, the key reason, the main factor that we're not achieving our goal? The answer is actually quite simple, but don't be fooled by its simplicity. The reason we don't achieve a goal is because the goal itself is not entirely under our control. Now think about it. If a goal is not entirely up to us, no matter what we do, whether or not we accomplish a goal is irrelevant to that goal, right? So maybe you want to get that promotion. You think you have a good chance, but you still get passed over. Or maybe you want to start a successful business, but it ends up a failure. Or you want to marry someone special, but you can't even get on the first date. So a common trait of all these failures in reaching goals, like these goals we just talked about, is that these goals are mostly beyond our control. Is it not? If you really think about it, for example, to get a promotion, it's up to the boss, to the management, right? And to start a business, to be successful at the business, it's up to the customers. There has to be people buying your stuff, right? And to marry someone, it's up to the other person, right? The other person has to love you back. So you see, the underlying reason that you fail is that those goals are just not entirely within your control. So it's not achievable, or at least not achievable by you, or you at the moment. Now you may wonder why we should set goals that are under our control. Aren't we supposed to set big goals, exciting goals, to inspire ourselves to really realize our full potential? Shouldn't we shoot for the moon, and even if we come up short, we may still land among the stars? Why? This is an interesting question, but while big goals do sound exciting and have a certain motivational merit to them, but in reality, most people set big goals only end up disappointed, frustrated, and they completely give up in the end. So they don't get to land among the stars, but probably often sink deeper than where they first started. So this idea that why we should set goals within our control is really based on a century-old Greek philosophy, which still applies today. And that philosophy is called the Stoicism. And one of the main tenets of that philosophy is Epictetus' concept of dichotomy of control. So in his famous work, Internalizing, or translated as Handbook, he says, "Some things are within our power, while others are not. Within our power our opinion, motivation, desire, aversion. And in a word, whatever is our own doing. Not within our power are our body, our property, reputation, office, and in a word, whatever is not of our own doing. If you regard that which is not your own as being your own, you will have cause to lament. You will have a troubled mind, and you will find fault with both gods and human beings. So what the principles say is simply that we should know if something is up to us or within our control, or is something we can at least do something about, or if it's something not up to us, beyond our control, or something that we can do nothing about. And our best strategy in life is simply focus only on things that we do and can have control over, and ignore the rest. Now, what are the downsides of having goals beyond our control? As you can see, the goals we have can also be grouped into two kinds: those within our power and those beyond our power. So the Epictetus philosophy applies to our goals as well. If we set and pursue goals that ultimately are not up to us, there are two possibilities. One is that we fail to reach those goals, and as a result, we may end up disappointed, frustrated, miserable, upset, or we simply lose heart and give up. Of course, if we're lucky, we do succeed in reaching a goal that is not up to us. We may not feel disappointed and miserable, but in the process of pursuing that goal, we may still experience a certain level of anxiety, because you always wonder, because the goal is not entirely up to your control. We always wonder, whether we'll succeed or not. So there's always a level of anxiety during that process. And no one will deny that having the outcome of your hopes or desires controlled by some external force or another person is not a very happy feeling. So that's why even if we end up reaching our goal, it still won't bring the same fulfillment and satisfaction we originally hoped for, and we'll feel cheated. So how do we make goals under our control? Should we abandon our original big goal and replace it with a smaller goal and somehow just settle for less? Of course not. Whether a goal is within our control or not has nothing to do with its size. You could reach a big goal as long as it's within your power. You could also fail to reach a tiny goal if it's actually not up to you. So what really matters in setting your goal is to first identify the difference between external and internal goals. Now, what are the external goals? Any goal that's a success is determined by a lot of external factors other than you yourself. Is an external goal. For example, get a promotion at work, make $1 million in sales, or write a best-selling book, etc. All these goals are external goals because, a lot of things are determined by things and the forces, not you. Now, what are the internal goals? Any goal that is success is largely determined by your own effort and within your own control. For instance, complete your work project on time, or reach out to 10 potential clients a week, or write 300 words per day. All these goals are mostly up to you, not to someone else. So you alone should be able to complete it, should be able to do it. So basically, what you want to do is to convert your external goal into internal goal by going through an internalization process to extract all external factors or elements that are beyond your control. But you may say by doing that, then you're actually giving up on the original goal. You're replacing a bigger and more difficult goal with just something that's seemingly easier and smaller. It may look that way on the surface, but it isn't necessarily the case. You can still achieve your original big external goal by converting it into an internal goal. You just need to go through a process of internalizing your external goal so that you still achieve the same end result. So let's use another example. Say you want to get a promotion at work, all right? Now, this is an external goal as we just talked about. To internalize it, we need to figure out how best to achieve the same result or similar result, but using another goal or a set of goals that are mostly internal and within our control. It could be that we want to complete a work project on time, or it could be that we learn a new set of skills, or maybe we need to do better at communication with our boss, or perhaps we need to put in more hours. Now, all of these could be our internal goals because you see, they don't have external factors anymore. And by pursuing these internal goals, we'll most likely get the same result as we will with our original goal, which is to get a promotion, right? So even if we don't get promoted after achieving all these internal goals we just talked about, we can still consider our effort a success. And of course, if we really want that end result, then we can always try something else. Like you could apply to similar jobs that you want to be promoted to at other companies. Notice that we don't set a goal to get a job at some other company, but we only set a goal to apply to these jobs. So the bottom line is, we're always working on goals that are within our power. So the process of internalizing an external goal consists of following steps. Step 1, identify the external factors in the original goal. Step 2, create a new goal or a list of goals that could achieve similar result or the same result as the original goal, but without those external factors. And step 3, pick a goal from the list by checking if by achieving it you will have the best chance at reaching your original goal. So in the real world, there are many successful people who knowingly or unknowingly use this kind of mindset or philosophy to achieve their own goals, and even big goals that everyone will probably consider a huge success by any measure. So now let's take a look at a few of those successful people. So first, let's talk about Rafael Nadal. Rafael Nadal is one of the best tennis players in the world. He has won 19 Grand Slam singles titles, a record 35 ATP Tour Masters 1000 titles, 20 ATP Tour 500 titles, and the 2008 Olympic gold medal in singles. And he's currently ranked world number 1 in men's singles tennis by the ATP, at least by the time this lesson is recorded. When interviewed for what's the secret to winning, Nadal said, "The glory is not winning here or winning there. The glory is enjoying practicing, enjoy every day, enjoying to work hard, trying to be a better player than before. My motivation and aspiration is the same, being number 1 or number 5. It doesn't matter. So that's the truth. And my goal is the same, is to always be happy playing, is to enjoy the game and improve always. I always work with a goal, and the goal is to improve as a player and a person. That finally is the most important thing of all. I wake up every morning and go to practice with the illusion that I'm going to get better that day. It's not hard to see that for Nadal, the goal is not to win all the tennis matches he plays in, even though he has actually done it. Winning a tennis match is an external goal. Your battle, whether win or lose, will be greatly affected by your opponent, your physical, mental conditions on the day of the match, the referee, or even the audience or weather, etc. All of these are external factors beyond your control. And Nadal is smart enough to not align his effort with trying to achieve this external goal. His goal, rather, is simply to enjoy the practice, work hard, and improve himself and play his best tennis. Now, any of these is mostly an internal goal. No one will prevent you from doing any of those things. It's all up to you. That's why it's internal. And once you've succeeded in achieving your internal goals, then you're always in the best position or in the best condition to win your external goals, just like what Nadal has accomplished. Now let's take a look at another example, Bryan Cranston. If you haven't heard his name, you have probably seen the big blockbuster show on Netflix, which is called Breaking Bad. He's the guy who plays the main character in the show, Mr. White. And this show has become a huge success for him. And reportedly, he made over $200,000 per episode during running of Breaking Bad. Now, his success is surely not overnight or happens by pure luck. He worked hard and toiled years and after years before landing the Breaking Bad role. So here's an interview, very interesting interview, where he talks about how his mindset shift happened while trying to achieve the success usually coveted by almost every Hollywood actor.
Well, the best advice for fellow actors is this: know what your job is. About 18 years ago, I had this cognition that I realized I was going into auditions trying to get a job. And that simply wasn't what I was doing. It wasn't what I'm supposed to be doing. An actor is supposed to create a compelling, interesting character that serves the text. You present it in the environment where your audition happens, and then you walk away, and that's it. Everything else is out of your control, so don't even think of it. Don't focus on that. You're not going there to get a job. You're going there to present what you do. You act, and there it is, and walk away. And there's power in that, and there's confidence in that. And it's also saying, I can only do so much. And then the decision of who might get a job is so out of your control that it really, when you analyze it, it makes no sense to hold on to that. That, to me, was a breakthrough. And once I adapted that philosophy, I never looked back. And I've never been busier in my life than once I grabbed onto that. That's it. Good luck.
Again, just like winning a tennis match at world level, landing a leading role in a Hollywood big budget movie is just as hard, if not harder. And for most of struggling actors, landing a big part is almost entirely out of their control. And it's all up to other people, such as producers, directors, or even investors, to decide who gets what role, etc. And there are just so many external factors beyond anybody's control, just like Cranston mentioned. So this is a typical external goal. But Cranston was able to internalize that goal by making it an internal pursuit. He stopped caring whether he would get the job or not, but rather simply did his best to give auditions and then walked away. As you can see, as long as he did his best in giving those auditions, then he could tell himself the goal is accomplished. Of course, things turned out quite well for him after all, which is no surprise. right? Because what better ways to land a role in an important movie than giving your best in auditions? Now, all this sounds good and reasonable, but how do we apply the dichotomy of control philosophy in our own goals, big or small? Just a moment ago, we used the example of getting promotion goal to illustrate how this can work. Now, let's try to use it in some other types of external goals. And your goal may be entirely different from any of those examples. But once you get the idea of how this internalization process works, then it shouldn't be too hard to adapt it to our own goals. So first, let's say we have a goal to be a best-selling author or publish a best-selling book. So you see, it's not hard to see that this is mostly an external goal. So the first step to internalize it is to identify the external factors in your goal. As you know, your success in publishing a best-selling book is probably mostly decided by the editors, publishers, and ultimately readers of your book. Now, those are all external factors, the things you don't have control over. Now, the second step is to come up with a new goal or a set of goals that could achieve similar result as the original goal, but without those external factors. The new goal or the new set of goals must be mostly up to us within our own power. So for this example, we could define the success of a book by, for example, how hard we work on it, and also probably how many times we submit the manuscript. Of course, there could be other factors, such as how good you are at writing or how knowledgeable you are on the topic you write about. So by considering all these factors, you may list a few goals that once accomplished will most likely give you the best chance at having a bestseller. So for example, I can list these goals. 1, get better at my writing by taking a course. And number 2, learn something more about the subject of my book, learn deeper on the subject of my book. And 3, have a more consistent writing routine. For example, 500 words a day. And number 4, maybe submit to a fixed preset number of publishers, just to make sure you have the best chance at getting published. So as you can see, any of the goals above is mostly an internal goal. They're all up to us, under our control. None of the external factors we identified previously in step 1 is relevant for achieving these goals. Now is the third step, which is to pick a goal from this list that by checking if by achieving this goal, you will have the best chance at reaching your original goal. In your case, it may be to get better at writing or submit more or write more consistently. So no matter what, the new goal you will be working on is an internalized goal, and that will get you onto the best path of achieving your original goal. Of course, after you accomplish your new internal goal, or all of those internal goals you have listed, you may still not achieve your original goal, or the result of your original goal of becoming a best-selling author. So what should you do then? Well, remember in step 1 of the process, we identified a few external goals or external factors. And among any of those factors, one factor we haven't really mentioned, and that factor is the fate or destiny, luck, or God's will. No matter what we do, how we internalize our goals, we will have no control over this ultimate factor. But that doesn't diminish the power of goal internalization process, because we may still not achieve our external goal without going through the process anyway. So it's like that kind of argument where one says, what's the use of exercise, right? A person may still die accidentally, even if he's fit and healthy. Of course, we all know that a sick and unhealthy person may also die accidentally. So the accident or the luck factor doesn't take away the benefit of exercise. The same logic, of course, applies in our goal control dichotomy philosophy. By adopting it, we gain the benefit of achieving more success. Fate or luck can still determine our end result, but it doesn't take away the benefit we gain from the application of dichotomy of control. Now let's look at another example. Say we want to make $1 million. What are the external factors beyond our control for this goal? Well, it probably depends on how you want to make $1 million, right? So if you hope to get it by winning the lottery, then your external factor is probably 99.999% or more beyond your control. You only have perhaps 0.001% under your control, which is simply just to buy a ticket. So obviously, this doesn't seem to be a sensible way to approach this goal. Now, if you hope to make that goal through a, say, high salary job, perhaps a CEO or a doctor or a lawyer, etc. Just say you decide you want to become a CEO of a big company. Now, many factors, external factors, again, will determine the success of this goal, such as the company you work at, how the management or boss thinks of you, and how many other candidates for the CEO job. And once you have that job, to successfully keep it, you must do well as a CEO, right? And that again depends on more factors beyond your control, such as the performance of your employees, the business environment, profitability of the company, state of economy, etc., etc. So basically, you need to analyze, or at least to be aware of, all these external factors beyond your control whenever you decide on a goal to pursue. Now, once you have an idea of what type of external factors involved, you can begin the process of internalizing your original goal, sort of converting it into your internal goal. So let's say you still want to become a CEO at a big company. To internalize it, you will probably come up with a few new goals that don't depend on those external factors we mentioned. But accomplishment of these new goals will get you the same or similar result as the original goal. So for example, your new goals could be study on how people get CEO jobs, or upgrade my knowledge and skills required for CEO positions, or get an MBA, or build a stronger social network, or improve my public speaking skills through programs like Toastmasters, or apply CXO jobs positions at smaller companies. So all of these goals are mostly internal, and accomplishing them doesn't depend on anything that's beyond your control. If your list is comprehensive or reasonable enough for your situation, then I would say by reaching these internal goals, it will very likely prepare you for the best chance at getting a CEO job. And now the third step, or the final step, is simply to prioritize your list and pick the most relevant and the most promising goal that you think will help you get the similar result as your original goal. And then you start on it right now. And finally, let's look at another type of goal, which is to lose weight. This is a very common goal, and many people mistakenly think it's not an external goal. losing weight should be something within our control, right? But in reality, our body weight is not something directly under our control, but rather it's mostly controlled by our eating habits, lifestyles, genetic conditioning, or how we were brought up, and even how old we are, etc. Of course, we do have some control in some of these factors, but that doesn't mean we can always successfully exert our control in changing these factors, such as the habits or lifestyles. So, what should we do then for this type of goals? Again, the same process still applies. Just follow the 3 steps as we did in the last 2 examples. First, be aware of the external factors. When it comes to weight loss, everyone's situation is different. One person's external factor may not be external at all to the next person. For example, I don't cook in my house, and I pretty much don't have a say in what we eat for every meal. It's all handled by my wife and mother-in-law. So this could be an external factor for me, but it might not be so for someone else. Perhaps you have completely control, you have 100% control in what to eat for every meal. Another type of factors could be things like perhaps your work requires you to sit 6 or 8 hours a day. Or maybe your parents or relatives or friends are all overweight, etc. So you see, you really need to think about all these factors that are not directly within your control. Then you can start the process of internalization by coming up a few goals that don't involve or work against those external factors you've identified. For example, even though I can't control what I eat for a meal at home, I can set a goal to eat a smaller portion just for dinner. That'll surely help with my weight loss. Or I could set a goal to drink a full glass of water before each meal. Another example, perhaps you cannot control or cannot change the job that requires you to sit 6 hours a day, but you can set a goal to use stairs instead of elevator at work, or maybe park your car farthest to your office entrance in the parking lot. So you see the pattern here. The goal is to still help you lose weight, but without working against those external factors, but rather focus on only the things that you do have control over. And once you identify things that are within your control, within your power, you can prioritize and start on the first one on your list. And by working on something that's totally within your control, you'll have a much better chance at achieving your goal. And as a result, you will lose weight because of it. Now we have a better understanding of how to apply dichotomy of control to help us reach goals. But sometimes we may still fail to achieve our internal goals, internalize the goals that we think are completely under our control. And because something unexpected can happen to disrupt our plan. For example, an accident may prevent us from further working on our goal. We may get tired, bored, or simply demotivated in the middle of our goal journey. So what should we do to deal with this type of setbacks or obstacles on our journey to reach our internal goals? Again, we can still make full use of dichotomy of control philosophy, although we may not have control over things that happen, such as accidents, change of plans, setbacks, or mood swings. But we do have control over how we respond to these things. So we have control over our mindset and our interpretation of how events happen to us. So instead of letting setbacks and obstacles derail our efforts to work on our goals, we can maintain a calm and stoic state of mind and only focus more on finding the workaround. So all it takes is some self-discipline and really learned perseverance. Now let's take a look at example. Say we have a goal to study an online course, and we have made plans for it, which is, of course, this is an internal goal. But we may soon find out that studying for the course in the evenings is too tiresome, and we struggle to focus. Now, this is a setback we may not expect at first, and the fact that we're tired and have low energy in the evenings are something that we can't really control directly. It's something unexpected. We didn't know. But it doesn't mean we have no choice in face of this. Instead of feeling frustrated and giving up on the goal, we can simply adjust our plan and perhaps, for example, try getting up a bit early than usual and study in the mornings instead of at night. Or we could try, dividing up the study materials into smaller pieces, and perhaps studying them during lunch breaks or commute time, etc. So as you can see, even facing a setback, which seemingly out of our control, we can still control our mindset and our response to these events and find ways to make it really work. So as long as we're focused on things we do have control over, then we'll always win. Now, just to summarize what we have learned so far. At this point, we know that one of the major factors in failing to achieve a goal is just because the goal we set for ourselves is not entirely under our control. And to avoid frustration and early abandonment of our goal, we need to convert it into a goal that is within our control and at the same time still gets the same or similar results we originally hoped for. And to do that, we have to go through a simple goal internalization process. But first, identifying the external factors and then coming up with a new goal or a set of goals that are absent of those external factors and make it so that it's mostly in our power to achieve. We have seen many examples of how to follow through this process. We also must understand we don't always have control over what we think we have control over. So therefore, we should prepare for things that will derail us. So we should adopt a resilient attitude and perhaps focus more our efforts on finding workarounds, finding solutions instead of giving up. To take full advantage of what we have learned so far in this lesson, and you can do this exercise. So complete these following exercises with your own goals. 1. Examine your top 3 goals for the year and find out which are internal or external goals. And number 2, for each external goal, go through the goal internalization process we talked about in this lesson and design one or more internal goals that achieve the similar or same results as your original external goal. Number 3, for the first internal goal, create a practical action plan and start working on it today. Of course, that first goal should be prioritized so that it's most likely to achieve what you want as your original goal. And lastly, brainstorm for what setbacks or obstacles that might happen to derail your efforts in making progress on your internal goal, and prepare workaround plans to deal with those setbacks.